Have you ever wanted to speak directly to a person with cancer who's taking CBD and ask them some questions about their condition, what CBD they're taking, and what effects the CBD is having on their cancer? Well, we have. One of our owners who has cancer has helped give our company input on how the cannabidiol, or CBD, is affecting him and his cancer. So we put together a list of questions, and I'm going to draw them out to Luke. We're going to record this so you can watch it as you desire, and hopefully provide you some information about what CBD can do for cancer, keeping in mind that this is only a cancer conversation. CBD is also used for many other conditions, and we encourage you to do your research. The FDA does not allow us to make any claims that CBD can't do, but what we can do is share some of the stories of the people we know who are taking CBD, and that's what this is an attempt to do. And so with that, we're just going to jump right in. This is very informal. We appreciate you tuning in, and here's the first question. Luke.
Yes. Hello, Elliot.
When you were first diagnosed, or when were you first diagnosed with cancer? What kind of cancer was it? And how did you first feel when you found out?
Well, the first time I was diagnosed, it was 2012. I kind of knew something was going on for a few years. We had done some dieting and some other things, and I just wasn't getting well. So I went to my primary care physician, and he was the guy that basically put all the pieces together, said that I should go in and get an ultrasound, and went and got an ultrasound, and there was a large mass in my transverse colon that, in the end it needed to be removed.
And how did you feel about that? I mean,
well,
you're in the doctor's office and he says...
Well, it was kind of strange, actually. He called me as I was driving home. I mean, there was it was really short and sweet. I did the ultrasound. I was driving home. He called me and said, come by the office. We need to talk. Instantly you know what's going on. You know what's going to happen at that point. I got to the office, and he didn't mess around. He didn't waste any time. He just threw it out there and said, this is what we got to deal with.
Okay.
It was quite startling, actually. You really don't hear much after they say you got cancer.
Yeah, I don't doubt that at all. When you first got cancer, did you turn to cannabidiol? And from this point on, I'm just going to call it CBD. Did you immediately turn to CBD either from hemp or marijuana, since you live in a medical marijuana state? What type of treatments, whether chemo or holistic, etc., did you try? And what were their side effects, if any?
Well, initially, I knew about CBDs and that sort of thing. Obviously recreational marijuana was, that's been around for ages in everybody's lives. So, that really, it never really held a taboo for me. So, it kind of, the way that I went about it was, why not try it? Hearing all the good things, about it and that sort of thing. So, doing my own research, didn't really know about hemp CBD at that point. Decided to go on a Rick Simpson Oil regimen, and did that for quite a while. And, there's various issues with actually taking that route. The biggest that I had was, finding a consistent supply that, dosing and those sorts of things became very, very difficult to do on a consistent basis. That's one of the things that I like about, the CBD the best, is that, we've got it down to a dosing schedule, and it kind of gives you something to work off. I mean, Rick Simpson says there is a dosing schedule, but it's take as much as you can until you can't stand it anymore. And that was really what happened with my, falling out of love with the Rick Simpson Oil side of it, is I just got tired of being high all the time.
Okay, that makes sense. How did you feel about taking any of those treatments? Leery of them, and specifically now I'm leaning more towards the chemo and the doctor prescribed type of things.
How did I feel about having to go on them?
Were there any side effects from the chemo? What were they?
Oh, good God, they were horrible. I guess initially, when I started the CBD train, it was more for the pain aspects of it. I knew I was having some great degrees of inflammation because of the cancer. Those are some things that, I can tell you without any hesitation that the CBD just from an inflammation standpoint was humongous. I've got some arthritis in my feet and some other things, and that's virtually disappeared. As far as going, onto the chemo side of it, I don't know that you can ever describe all the bad crap that does to you. I mean, anything that you can think of, your nails turning white, they're getting powder, your hands burning, nausea, headaches, diarrhea, constipation, you name it. You feel like you got a cold all the time. And I will tell you that the CBD does help from a well-being standpoint, and with those types of things. You don't really have a choice to go on chemo. You do have a choice whether to use CBD or not, and I want to.
Okay. So the chemo you're taking mainly to treat the cancer, and the CBD you're taking mainly for the side effects of the chemo?
More or less. I mean, it's more of a well-being type of a scenario. It's really hard to. I would hesitate. The one thing that I would hesitate people who are considering taking, large quantities of CBD, and at this stage in the game, I am taking very large quantities of CBD.
What does that mean? How much?
Maximum doses. I'm taking probably 45 to 60 milligrams a day.
Okay.
Is what I'm taking. I could take more. I think that's a good dose for me at this moment. I forgot what I was talking about. Hey, see, chemo brain. There it is. I forgot the tangent that we were going off of before I told you about chemo brain.
No problem.
Help me out here, man.
We were talking about the chemo and that, whether you were taking CBD for chemo.
Oh, right.
Side effects, and you're kind of going down that path.
Well, I mean, obviously the chemo, I wouldn't take it to say to lessen the effects of the chemo, that sort of thing. That's something that, whether we like to admit it or not, is probably needed at this point, just because there's really no real good ways to go about it any differently. So the things that you would be treating with the CBD would be the side effects. Namely, like I said, before treatment, that sort of thing, you will suffer from inflammation. You will have pain. You'll have joint pain. You'll have headaches. You'll have nausea. You'll have all of those things just magnified once you do start your chemo. Depending upon which chemo drug you're on, there's all kinds of various things that they're specialized at making you feel like crap.
Right. And so the CBD was helping with the side effects from the chemo, but you said also you're taking it from more of a well-being standpoint.
Correct.
Just because you knew it was better for your body than not having it.
Exactly. And that I think that's probably the biggest aspect of it on my end. It gives me a feeling that I'm doing something good for my body. I know the good parts of it. I know all the great things that it does for you. Why would I not take it?
Right, and even if all that wasn't there, you would still take it because it's helping with all the side effects from the other crap you take.
Correct.
Okay. So, next question. What support did you have around you, family, friends, etc., and how were they supportive, and what did they advise, if anything?
I can't even tell you how wonderful everybody's been. I mean, it was very humbling for me from that standpoint. You never realize what you got until you get into a situation like this. And, the friends, the family, I mean, everybody has just been off the hook awesome. Anything I need, anything I want, everybody's been just rallied around, and, we're in together for sure. My mom's got these bracelets made up for us that a few of us wear and that sort of thing, and we are kind of all in it together. So, from a support standpoint, you can't say enough about that. You have to have that.
Okay. Did anybody offer you any advice in terms of what you should take, what you shouldn't take, what you should do, shouldn't do?
I mean, everybody's got an opinion. I think for the most part, one of the most amazing aspects of it has been that, nobody has really done that. Everybody says, what are you doing? What do you think? Those types of things, which has been kind of refreshing. I've got, a few friends and things like that that are outspoken about, things that they think I ought to do, and I am more than happy to consider anything that anybody has to say, that they've found any kind of information that they believe is true. But everybody's been pretty open. It's kind of been kind of a lone soul type of a situation. But I think when you and I started talking about the whole CBD aspect of it, it was like, that's the key. That's the answer right there.
Okay. Back in that time, keeping in mind we're still talking about your first occurrence, at least at this point,
Mm-hmm.
What were the doctors telling you about your outlook, your prognosis, your chance of beating cancer, etc.?
It's still the same as it's always been. Even this time, they thought the last time they thought, oh, we'll remove it, it'll go away. It did not. So it was, we considered going through chemo, that sort of thing. The follow-up looked like it was going to be the same regardless of what I chose. So at that particular point, I chose not to do chemotherapy. And, I don't know whether I believe that's why it came back or not. It's pretty aggressive, apparently. It probably would have come back anyway. So,
I'm sorry, I don't understand. So when you first got it, you took chemo for the first go-around?
I did not.
Did not take it for the first.
Mm-mm.
And so you're saying that nobody knows, of course, but perhaps that's why it came back, because it was never really good.
Yeah, I mean, the part of it is, when it metastasizes and it does come back, I mean, it's such a minuscule amount of anything that maybe got loose. I mean, the first time, they took out, a huge amount of lymph nodes and they were all clean. So, that was one of the things that factored into the decision about not doing chemo, is it looked like it wasn't anywhere else. It wasn't in my liver. It wasn't, it didn't appear to be anyplace else. Of course, now, long story short, looking back at it, we've now found that it's, my particular type of cancer doesn't show up in blood tests.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So now you've got it a second go around.
I do.
Any progress? Kind of what's your condition at this point? How would you describe that?
Holding solid. When it came back, I've been dealing with this since February of 2014 now. So when it came back, it was kind of a different scenario, a totally different scenario, actually. It wasn't just in one place. It actually kind of metastasized down between my liver, my colon, and, hit a bunch of lymph nodes there and just kind of went up the left side of my body. So I've got about 6 tumors here and there, peppered throughout the left side. And it's a totally different scenario this time. It's non-operable. I have to do the chemo. I have to do this to do that. And basically the outlook on that is, as long as I'm still up and walking, we're in good shape.
So your fight, it doesn't sound like you're any better today than you were back in February.
No. Well, better as, the tumors have shrunk, things of that nature. Who knows? Basically my oncologist and I have the saying of, you do what you do, I'll do what I do. I believe what I'm doing is right. He believes what he's doing is right. And, there we kind of split in the middle.
Okay. Questions, actually a number of questions still, but we're moving along well.
Yeah.
Next question, mentally, physically, and spiritually, how did you handle the news of this recurrence? How did your family and friends handle it? And then the next part we've already talked about. So, kind of when it all came back, how did you handle that, basically?
Well, mentally, I reasoned it out. I figured, do what I got to do, and we'll make it happen. Physically, this time it's rough. The first time, I really didn't know much about it. I went in, got surgery, pulled it out, and I was back up and running in a couple of months. It's a little more real this time. It's physically, it's horrible. Spiritually, well, jury's still out on that one. And, I think that probably, from the aspect of family and that sort of thing, Mentally, it's probably had a hell of a toll on them, because they kind of feel helpless. They don't know what to do. They can only watch me and try to be there to support me and that sort of thing. Physically, it's not much on them other than the worry and the stress. Spiritually, I think that's jury's still out. I think that's the same for both sides of the story. Spiritually, that's the biggest part of what we're fighting here. Is it, you. What's the saying? God never throws at you what you can't handle. Well, here we are. Guess we're gonna handle it.
And it's been a year and a half since the recurrence. Now you're saying that they're no longer growing.
Well, yeah, that's a 3 month to 3 month thing. It can change.
Right. Okay.
I've been trying. We've been we've been kind of messing around with my chemo drugs. The last few times and things of that nature, trying to get it to where the side effects aren't so bad. So playing that game, it kind of depends. What's going to happen if things hold solid and the chemo drugs, I'm able to keep kind of turning down some of the volume on some of the chemo drugs. Well, that kind of tells me that whatever I'm doing is maybe being effective, and I should keep on doing it.
Okay. This next question, I'm not sure you'll be able to answer, but just tell me whatever comes across your mind as I ask it. If you think you can answer it, answer it. If you don't, tell me what you do have to say about it.
Okay.
I'm just going to read it as it's written, and we'll go from there. Knowing at some point you began taking CBD, why did you do this, and what did it do for you? That we've already kind of talked about. If it provided actual benefit towards the doctor's tests and results support this, if they could.
I'm sorry, you broke up. What was the question?
Basically, can the doctor's test support CBD having a positive effect on the cancer?
Some do, actually. Some are very, very open about it. I've just started some new treatment, and one of the doctors is extremely interested in seeing the information that we have and, supports my decision to be on it. I find that even from the oncologists that I've talked to, they've been very supportive. They're not, the clinical guys aren't willing to go out on a limb and say, because they got to have that clinical proof, which is hard to get right now. We obviously know of people that are trying to put those kinds of things together, but it's kind of hard to get that information at the moment. But I don't think any of the doctors, none of them that I have run into so far have had any negative view on it whatsoever. And I think even, I know for a fact that there are many cancer patients that I know of that their oncologists are exactly the same way, have actually suggested that they get on it.
Okay. So would it be safe to say that there's not proof that the CBD over the chemo or anything else is what's causing the positive effect, but many of the oncologists and doctors do have their own personal beliefs that it is certainly helping positively in some way?
For sure. Without hesitation, I say that.
Okay. Specifically, why do you take the specific CBD hemp oil drops you take, and how do you take them?
I take the Highland Pharms Max. It's primarily with the volume and stuff that I'm taking, it's a quality and cost scenario on my end. We obviously have the benefit of having done a lot of research on what's out there, which is one of the biggest reasons why we chose the providers and people that we have that provides the oil to us. It's the quality is outrageous. The CO2 extraction there's nothing. What do you say? There's plenty of videos. You've done way better job than I ever could of explaining the benefits and the positives to that in some of our videos on the channel. Cost. The way that I take it is a little inconvenient right now. But not a big deal because I've been doing it forever, is I actually put the oil and inject the oil into empty, veg caps and take it that way.
Well, why do you do that?
Really the taste isn't bad. I don't know if any of you out there that might be watching have tried any of the Rick Simpson oil. It's horrible. It's like licking an ashtray. This stuff, it's actually kind of pleasant. The strawberry is awesome. I mean, you could almost drink that, to be honest with you. But I don't know. Maybe it's force of habit at this point. It's easier for me to figure out dosage, I think. Because I'm taking so much for a long haul that, I want to try to make sure that I'm very consistent with my dosage.
Okay.
And obviously the convenience of having a capsule. I'll pre-fill a bunch. I'll get a couple weeks ahead if I have some time sitting around watching the tube or whatever and just pre-fill a whole bunch and stick them in a bottle. And that way when I do my, gargantuan pill dump every night, I can just throw it in with those.
Okay, and just to be clear, because we haven't talked about it on this video, both you and I are owners of Highland Pharms CBD.
Yes.
And we provide a number of products to the marketplace, including CBD drops and other things. And the purpose of this video is not necessarily to sell any of those. The purpose of this video the purpose of the statement right now is just to make sure anybody watching knows that we do have a connection with Highland Farms, and we wouldn't be doing anybody justice if we didn't say that. So anyway, for anybody watching, we are the owners of Highland Farms, and so now you know. It's just a plain disclosure for that. Next thing I've got is really just kind of turning it over to you to kind of wrap things up a little bit. Say, this is your chance to open the microphone and tell anyone whatever you'd like to tell them about CBD oil and cancer.
The way this opportunity came about, I'm glad that you did the disclosure, Elliot, because that's one of the things that I kind of wanted. You've been on me for a while to to get this done, for us to have this open dialogue, and I think it's great that you finally talked me into it. It's something people need to hear. From my standpoint, it'd be more like an open letter. It's just to say, there's a purpose here. Yeah, great. If Ellie and I need to eat, we got mortgage to pay just like everybody else. That such a thing. But I just want everybody to understand that there's a purpose to this. I myself want to try very hard to change the stigma and the attitude around just cannabis as a whole. Hemp is such a fantastic plant. Just do some research. Get out there. Read. This is a magic substance. It can do wonderful things for our health. It can do wonderful things for our environment. And hopefully in some little way, Elliot and I can kind of change some of the opinions about this stuff, and we can make a small little change that might do huge benefit for everybody.
Okay. One thing I would say, because I'm the one talking to most of our customers when they call in questions, at least the people who are seeking us out have already formed very positive opinions about hemp and CBD. And most of them are just calling for guidance. They've already, they've done the research.
Mm-hmm.
They believe in it already, so that's a positive thing. But they're really just calling for guidance on which product to take and how much to take, so on and so forth. So I point that out just to let you know, Luke, that a lot of people are out there doing exactly what you're suggesting, and that is just digging for information, because it is all out there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's unfortunate that it's been hidden for so long and kept out of our reach, but. Anyway, we're trying to change things, and
inch by inch.
Before we wrap this up,
okay. I'm good, man.
All right, man.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You want to kill the recording?
I will. Take care, man.